Hello, welcome back to my channel and welcome to another reading vlog where I'm gonna be reading Empire of Storms and Tower of Dawn. So Empire of Storms and Tower of Dawn are books 5 and 6 of the Throne of Glass series, which is a fantasy series, and I'm going to link the vlogs for the 4 previous books in the description if you want to check those out before. And like book 4 was definitely my favorite in the series, and I also really liked book 3. Books 1 and 2 were just okay for me, but I really liked book 3 and I loved book 4. So I was definitely very excited to get into these, and I decided to do the tandem read, like read them together, because people say that like this is super exciting and this one is kind of boring, so it would not be fun to like read this one and then go into this one. So it's like it gets better when you read them together. So yeah, I definitely decided to do that, obviously. And I just want to say that there are definitely spoilers in this reading vlog, and let's get into it. Okay, so I have made some progress, and I mean, not that much progress, but some progress. So I am on page 133 of Empire of Storms and page 92 of Tower of Dawn. And so we start off with Empire of Storms, and this book has a prologue, and we see like Queen Elena, and we see when like they trap that sort of demon. And then in the present we see that Aelin has met with some like ruling families of the territories that are part of her kingdom or her would-be kingdom, and she meets with them and they're like talking, and they just don't accept her as their queen. And then we also see, like with the witches, we see that they attack like the palace, castle, whatever, where Dorian lives. And Manon is against that, and she goes there and she actually saves Dorian. And then Rowan gets there and he gets Dorian out of like that mess. And then there is another thing that happens here, but like in the timeline, we move on to Tower of Dawn, and we are following Chaol, and he and Nesryn are at the like talking with the guy who rules the area, and he doesn't want to help them in their war, but he lets them know that the castle was attacked. So the attack that happened in this book. So it was definitely cool to see like the connection between books, because literally the attack was happening like Rowan had just gotten Dorian out in a chapter of Empire of Storms, and then in the next chapter of Tower of Dawn, Chaol learns about that attack. So that was really, really cool. But like I said, the guy doesn't want to help them in the war, but he says that they will have access to like the tower and the healers of the tower. And Chaol is seen by one of those healers, but she doesn't want to help him because she hated like the old king, like Dorian's father, and everything that he's done. So she doesn't want to help Chaol. But then she sees that, like after meeting him, she sees that he's actually not a bad person, and also he would have literally been a child when the horrible things that she has suffered with, like that the king has done, like he would be a child, so he obviously had no part of it, and she agrees to help heal him. And that is like pretty much all that happens in the first 90 pages of this book. And then back to this just quickly. So Manon is punished because they know that she had like to kill a witch to save Dorian. They don't know that she exactly like saved Dorian, but they know that she killed a witch. So she is punished, but she's told that she's not gonna be the one to like die or physically suffer because she's their wing leader. So they will kill her second, who is called Asterin, I think. So that is where we are with the witches. And then I think the last chapter I read here was with Dorian and Rowan. And Rowan tells Dorian, Dorian asks Rowan for help with like his magic, and Rowan agrees to help him like learn how to control his magic. And that is where I'm at. And I'm definitely enjoying it, and I really liking to read both of these books at the same time because, like I said, there are connections in the books. And I knew that there would be, but it's really cool to see like from one chapter in a book to the next chapter in another book, like the immediate connections. That's really cool to see. And I'm definitely more invested in the plot that is happening in Empire of Storms than Tower of Dawn. And also, like in Tower of Dawn, the only character I like or care about is Kale, and there are a bunch of other characters that I just don't care about at all because one of them is new-ish. We had already seen them in another book, but the others are all like new characters. So still don't even really know them, and definitely don't really care about them. And so yeah, there's just like one character that I care about, and the plot itself. Okay, so I am on page 261 of Empire of Storms and 293 of Tower of Dawn. And, being very transparent here, I don't remember what I said in my first update. Like, not at all, because it's been a month. Because I went through a reading slump, and then I read some books for other videos, but now I'm back, and like I remember what happened, but I don't remember what I said. But I think we're gonna go into Tower of Dawn first because this is the one that I have the least to talk about, I guess, even though it's the one that I'm like further into. I am 40 something percent into this one, but there's not much happening, so I don't have that much to say. But basically, like what happened in this one is that one of the healers of the tower was killed, and it's one that looks like Irene. And Irene is learning about the magic that injured Kale, so like that's why she, might have been the intended target for that attack. But she didn't die, and she, like I said, she's learning that magic. She's learning how to reverse it, how to cure Kale. And Kale does start to feel like his toes and then like his entire feet and a bit of his legs. And also Kale and Irene, like they spend a lot of time like connecting emotionally, and I just couldn't care less. Honestly, like I really couldn't care less. And then Irene also is this like towards the end of what I read, like that's the last thing I had to talk about for this one. She is reading a book that mentions 3 Valak kings and not just one. So that is terrible news, basically. And like that is pretty much what has happened here. More things have happened with other characters, but until anything actually relevant happens with all of that, I'm just gonna mention like this part. And then in this one, I'm pretty sure that Astrid, Manon's second, was already like sentenced to die in the first update that I talked about. But if I didn't, well, she was sentenced. And Manon is like gonna be the one to kill Asterin herself, because that would be like mercy instead of letting the others kill her, because they would just literally torture her until she died, pretty much. So she was gonna kill Asterin herself, but like she couldn't do it. And then she like creates a distraction for her 13 witches to run away, and she hits her grandmother. And like I literally gasped so loud when that happened, because that was absolutely iconic. That was amazing. That was the best moment in this book so far. Absolutely. Like I loved that so much. And like her grandmother doesn't die, and then they fight, and we find out that Manon is not only like a black beak witch, she's also a Croken witch, which are like the witches that all those clans don't like, and they're not like part of that type of witch, like they're another type of witch. And yeah, there is a fight, and Manon is like then trying to run away on Abraxas, and she's just trying to, use herself as a distraction for her witches to get away. And yeah, like she's basically just holding on enough for that, but then she like falls, and then it's I think days later. Like honestly, I don't know because she doesn't know, but like she wakes up and she's like really badly injured, and she's still with Abraxas, and like he's trying to help her survive. And then I don't know if this was already happening before, like if I mentioned it, but Alid and Lorcan are like traveling together, I guess. And Rowan and Dorian, they're like at the pirates area, and they make a deal with two Fae that were sent by Maeve to kill Lorcan. So yeah, they make that deal, and then pretty much the last thing that happens here is Aelin, like she and the people she was with, she also gets the pirates area, and she reunites with Rowan and Dorian, basically, pretty much. That is what's been happening. And I'm definitely liking this book more than the other, especially like the part of the witches. That was, like I said, the best thing that happened in this book so far. The part about Aelin, like I was liking it more in the part I had read before this update, but in this part, like it's fine, it's good, but I'm not, obsessed with it. And in terms of this one, like I'm liking it, but I'm not loving it. I feel like it's just a lot. It's very slow, Not that much is happening, and I'm already over 40% into the book, and not that much has happened. Like Kale got there, he wants help to fight for Aelin. He started to get cured. We learned like the smallest amount of information possible about the Valg, and yeah, that's pretty much it. And like I said, it's just a lot of time of like Kale and Irene connecting emotionally. Like I don't care about that at all. And there is also another relationship blooming, I guess, in this book that I also couldn't care less about. And I mean, that is true for both of these books. Like all the relationships that are either like already happening or starting, I couldn't care less. But also, I couldn't care less about 99% of the relationships I've read about in like every book. So that is probably like a me problem, but it is happening, and it's a big part of the books, especially this book, and that is why I'm not really caring that much. But I'm still enjoying it. I'm just not loving it. And this one, I'm loving. I'm not like 5-star feelings kind of loving it, but I'm definitely like really, really enjoying it. And yeah, that is everything for now. I'm gonna read a bit more of both of them, and I'll be back. Okay, so a lot of progress is made actually. Like I am this far into the books, and I'm actually 73% into both of them. And once again, starting with Tower of Dawn because I don't have much to say about it. Basically, what happened in this one is that Irene was attacked by the Valg, but like, she's fine. She made it out. And then we learned a little more about the Valg with Kale and Irene, but also with Nezrin. And I mean, Nezrin is like out on her own quest and discovering things, but like that's pretty much what happened in this whole time. And then in this one, Aedion, he finally meets his father because he recently discovered who he is, and it's one of the Fae that Rowan had made a deal with. And so he meets his father, and it doesn't go well at all, but then he feels bad for it not going well because like Aelin needs him as an ally. But they do, like, Rowan had already made a deal with him and like he didn't back out of the deal. And then they also all make a deal with the Pirate Lord so that he will help them like in the war to come. And then there is a battle, and during that battle, like while Aelin is using her powers, she is sort of like possessed by someone, a goddess, I guess, not entirely sure, called Deanna, and she calls Aelin the queen who was promised, I think. And she also tells Aelin that she needs to find the lock. And then after the battle, when Aelin like finds a way to talk to like the old queen Elena, she also tells her that she needs to find the lock. So there's that. And also during the battle, Lysandra was so fucking iconic. Like she was amazing, an absolute icon. And then they, like, after the battle is fought, they find Manon, like, almost dead, and they take her and heal her, and now she is basically their prisoner. And the first thing that Manon does when she wakes up is ask about Elide, like if she has found Aelin already, and like we know that she hasn't, but that was absolutely adorable. And she also tells them that there's like no point in trying to use her like as leverage to negotiate with the witches because they don't care about her. And then we learned that the Valk King knows that Selena has the third word key. And also like pretty much the last thing we see is like Elide and Lorcan like connecting and telling each other the truth finally, because they had been traveling together but they had both been lying like about who they really are and what they really want with Aelin. But now they finally tell each other the truth, and that is pretty much where I'm at. And yeah, I am definitely liking Empire of Storms much more than Tower of Dawn still, because there was like a part that we had to read that was 140 pages of Empire of Storms like straight. And I mean, I read that in one sitting like easily, and then we had to read 30 pages of Tower of Dawn. And even those 30 pages, I was already like bored and just wanting to move on back to Empire of Storms. And I just feel like this book, like it's to make us know Kale better and like him more. Like I liked him before, and now this book is making me kind of not like him, which again, I think is the opposite of the goal. And also like if I like any single ship of this series, I would probably be having a blast because everyone's like getting together and, you know, connecting on emotional levels or whatever. But I don't like a single one. And speaking of, like Manon and Dorian are flirting a lot, and I hate it because she deserves better. Like I know it's an unpopular opinion to not like Dorian, but I don't like Dorian. And I love Manon, and she deserves better. And I hate their flirting in general. So there is that. And yeah, this one is feeling like a 4 or 4.5 stars. So yeah, great. I'm really enjoying it. I'm having a great time. This one is feeling like 3 stars, I guess. I don't dislike it, but I also don't particularly like it. It's honestly like I am bored throughout most of this book, which I don't love for me. But that is where I'm at. And like I said, I am 73% into both of the books. And honestly, I don't know if I'm going to update like just when I finish or if I'm gonna update like before that. I guess it's just gonna depend on how much I have to say. But yeah, I am gonna read more of these, make some progress, maybe finish them, maybe just make some more progress, and I'll get back to you. Okay, so I have finished both books, and I'm actually going to be talking like about this book and then this book and then this book and then this book again, because things are like more connected, or like they make more sense this way. And so starting off with this one, Lorcan and Alid reach the others, and then they find a witch mirror that only Manon knows what it is, obviously, because, you know, she's a witch. And then in this one, we actually learn a lot. I mean, the first thing we learn, or that I think Irene like theorizes, is that the healers might be an important weapon to fight the Valg. And then they also learn very important things about Maeve. So they are talking to some creatures that's like connected to the Valg, and one of those creatures says, "Our queen, we wait for her dark majesty to return at last. We wait for the queen of the Valg, who in this world calls herself Maeve." So there's that. Maeve is the queen of the Valg. And basically there's like the whole story of how Maeve even like came to this, I mean, that world, the world that she's in now. And she basically made the people believe that she was a fae, and that her sisters actually had her as a sister when they obviously didn't. And she's just been, you know, pretending to be fae and waiting for her moment. And then back to this one, Maeve and her army, her people, they find Aylin and her people, and they, you know, they start fighting. And while that's starting, Aylin and Manon, they go through the witch mirror, and they go to like a memory that was set 1,000 years ago, and it was a memory of Alina. And basically, like, someone is telling Alina, Mala's bloodline shall bleed again to forge the lock that they were looking for, anew. And you will lead them, a lamb to the slaughter, to pay the price of this choice you made to waste its power here. For this petty battle, you will show this future scion how to forge a new lock with Mala's gifts, how to then use it to wield the keys and send us home. Our original bargain still holds. We will take the Dark King with us, tear him apart in our world, where he will be dust and memory. When we are gone, you will show this scion how to seal the gate behind us, the lock holding it intact internally, by yielding every last drop of their life force, as your father was prepared to do when the time was right. It's Mala's bloodline that will pay, not your own. And so, who's part of Mala's bloodline? Obviously Aylin, and actually Dorian. They are like both very distantly related to Mala, like they're part of her bloodline. So they're actually both, like they would actually both be able to do that sacrifice to create the lock. But we also see when, I'm sorry, this is really bothering me. Okay, we also see when Alina like recruits Nehemia to then like kind of recruit Aylin, because she doesn't think that Dorian is prepared, so she chooses Aylin. And then like Alina herself explains everything to Aylin, and then they get out of the like that memory, and the battle is going on, and Maeve actually takes Aylin as a prisoner, and she's thinking that she's bringing the word keys with her because she knew that Aylin had the word keys. But actually Aylin left the word keys with Manon, and basically Manon is supposed to give them to Dorian since he could also do the thing.
And so Aelin is taken, and you know, there is a war that's gonna happen. And actually, Manon's 13, her witches, they get there and they're gonna fight with her and some other people that like Aelin met in the past. They also get there to help, and they're kind of like starting to build an army. And then back to this one, Chaol is like fully healed basically, and then Irene realizes that like the healers know how to, or they can learn how to heal people that were possessed by the Vag, and like they knew that she would have that ability, so that is why the Vag were trying to kill her. And then they're actually attacked by one of the Vag, and she injures Chaol again. And Irene, when she's like desperate, she kind of like connects both of them to each other, and basically like Chaol's injury is now connected to Irene's power. So when her power is depleted, he will be like, he'll have trouble like walking, and he'll be in pain and all of that. And also their lives are also connected. Like if one of them dies, they both die. And then Nesryn gets back, and they all decide that they're going to fight the Valg. And that is how both of these books ended. Actually, at the very end of this book, like an epilogue, Aelin is awakened by someone. And that is actually how it ends. And now let's go into my final thoughts. So starting off with Empire of Storms, starting off with the characters, I actually really liked all of the characters in this book, especially, obviously, Manon. She's my everything. And also Lysandra, she was an absolute icon, especially in one of the battles. And also Aelin. She's definitely grown on me. And I mean, I liked all of the characters. I just don't care about any of the ships, and everyone is like getting together, and I didn't care at all. But like the characters individually, I like all of them. And in terms of the plot, I was also very interested, very invested the whole way through, and I also thought that the pacing was really good, and I love all the like fighting, all the battle scenes. They were super fun, and I was definitely not bored for a single second reading this book. I loved it. It didn't give me the 5-star feelings, but I really, really enjoyed it. And I think I liked it as much as the previous one, which I gave 4.5 stars to. And I'm also giving this one 4.5 stars. And then Tower of Dawn. So, I mean, again, starting off with the characters, I guess. I mentioned that this book kind of made me not like Chaol as much. And it's not like because of anything that he did, except like one thing I was like kind of pissed, but you know, was one scene in a almost 700 pages book. But it's not like of things that he did. It's just that I was so bored while reading about him that it just like kind of disconnected me from him, and now I kind of don't care about him. And Irene, I did like her, but I mean, don't love her, but I like her. And the rest of the characters, honestly, I couldn't care less about any of them. And then in terms of the plot, like I was interested. I liked what was happening. The problem is that there wasn't much happening, and it was just so slow and so like focused on the relationships that I was bored. So yeah, I definitely didn't love this one. Also didn't hate it. It was just okay. And I'm giving this one 3 stars. But I am still very excited to read the last book because, you know, it's gonna be the continuation of this. And I mean, they're also gonna be there, I guess, but it's gonna be mostly the continuation of this story. And that is what I am very excited to read. And yeah, that is everything for this video. So thank you so much for watching. I really hope that you have enjoyed it. And if you did, give it a like and subscribe, and I will talk to you next time. Bye!